Come on, you ficker. Jesus. Fuck's sake. I'm Turlough Moondust, Knockferry's foremost jazz expert, I suppose. Some people call me a master of moods, but to be fair, there's more that call me a moody bastard. Today I'm going to be talking to you about Valentine's Day. Now, I know you're probably sitting there thinking, Valentine's Day? That was ages ago. Why is he banging on about that? And to be honest with you, you'd have a point. But here we are, and that's how it is what it is, and we are where we are. Simple as that. Now, Valentine's Day is, of course, traditionally a day of jealousy, revenge, and sometimes even murder, as with the case of the Valentine's Day massacre. But thankfully, those days are long gone. And now we live in more progressive times where the day is synonymous with bending over backwards to pleasure our corporate overlords. So just like any other day, really. They brutally coax you into buying a piece of cardboard with some badly written poetry splattered all over it. There's a card for you now. Don't worry about the tree that's after being chopped down to make it. You're more important than saving the planet, apparently. And if you don't have a girlfriend, things are not much better. You have to endure a sickly stream of faux romantic songs on the radio, bombarded by billboards everywhere you go, even in the toilet. Your own toilet, for God's sake. Jesus. A barrage of advertisements screaming at you to throw away all your money on this or that. Do you want to buy some fancy cakes for your loved one? No. I don't. Are you sure now? You've a chance to enter a draw where you can win a yacht made out of Belgian chocolate and powered by the psychotic dreams of demented feral kittens. As if there's any other kind. Now, having said all that, now I must admit, and you might have noticed this, I'm feeling unusually smug this year. And the reason for this would be that many years ago I had the foresight to realise that at some point in the future there'd be a global pandemic where human contact would be frowned upon and people who kept themselves to themselves would be lauded as heroes. Ah, isn't he great? He just stays at home all the time playing his jazz guitar. Doesn't have a girlfriend. He doesn't even have any friends as far as I know. So I give myself an old pat on the back for that one now. Well done, Turlough, you clever bastard. But you know, I do have some sympathy for ye people who've to endure the company of a fellow human being in these trying times. Poor little feckers must be living under a cloud of constant suspicion and distrust. Imagine it. You hear a cough in the next room, so you call out, "Is that a cough I hear there?" "Ah no, just clearing my throat, you mad useless gobshite." "Oh, okay, just checking that it's not the virus, like, because I mean, if you were to get it, that'd mean that I'd be getting it too. And that'd be awful." "No, I'm grand. Thanks for asking, you insensitive floppy-haired feck." "Right so, well, Enjoy the rest of your dump. So you see, that would be the reason that I currently bear the demeanour of a man who's feeling pretty pleased with himself for thinking ahead. And if you don't mind, I'm just going to sit here for a minute or two looking smug, and you all can watch. That is Sinead, hello! Oh, it's you. What do you want? No, that wasn't me. No, I've the telly on. It was Sinead O'Connor being interviewed by the Pope. It is unusual. That's exactly what I was thinking just before you called. I was sitting here watching it thinking, Sinead O'Connor being interviewed by the Pope. That's very unusual. The world's gone mad. Well, glad we managed to clear that one up. Bye now. Now, a good comedian would be able to weave different ideas together in order to create the illusion of free-flowing storytelling using callbacks, through lines, and many other comedic devices. They'd spend months writing and rewriting to craft a seamless, polished routine. They wouldn't just jump clumsily from one story to the next. By the time they take the show to the stage, it'll be so finely tuned that you wouldn't even notice where all the various elements have been glued together, and the many hours of frustration, blood, sweat and beers that have gone into it. It's very clever. A few years ago, I was driving through a remote part of Connemara when my journey was impeded somewhat by a large gathering of sheep trying to cross the road, accompanied by, it has to be said, a very drunk farmer. He used the fingers on his left hand to signal to me that it'd only be 2 seconds. So I turned off the engine and waited. As spring turned into summer and summer into autumn and dead crinkled leaves did fall silently to the rocky ground, there appeared, seemingly out of nowhere, an old woman draped in a shawl from Galway, roses from Tralee, and many other traditional Irish clichés. She bowed her head to bring it down to the same level as mine. I was sitting in my car, okay? She bowed her head to bring it down to the same level as mine, and then turned her head slightly so that now it was at least facing in the right direction. Although one of her eyes didn't quite get the memo. She leaned in towards me, and the following words she did utter. "Do you want a cup of tea while you're waiting?" Now, not being a tea drinker, I didn't know, and still don't know to this very day, whether her question was serious or sardonic. And that's a bit like jazz, really, when you think about it. Oh, there's the phone again. Oh, I didn't hear it ring either. Some freaking sound effects. Hello. Have I been involved in an accident recently? I don't think so, no. I mean, I did spill some Guinness earlier. I suppose you could class that as an accident. I certainly didn't do it deliberately now. I'm not the kind of fella who would buy a rake of beer only to get it home and pour it all over the furniture. I wouldn't be like one of those racing car drivers opening a bottle of champagne and spraying it all over the crowd in some bizarre ritualistic orgy of misplaced triumphalism. I wouldn't be one of those lads now. So I suppose if you follow those criteria, you could say that I have indeed been involved in a... Hello? One of the things that you'll find as a jazz guitar player is you'll be inundated with calls from the ladies who work in call centres. Now, where was I? This might help me to remember. Or forget. I was going to share some songwriting tips with you. Now, this is songwriting tips number 3, though I suppose it could just as easily be songwriting tips number 1. But then, if we did that, it would mean that songwriting tips number 1 would have to become songwriting tips number 2, which would make the original songwriting tips number 2 songwriting tips number 3. And now we have ourselves a bit of an old paradox. So that's why it's songwriting tips number 3. And here it is. If you're thinking about writing a song, something that I would strongly recommend would be don't. They've all been written. All of them. All the songs, 1,000,000 times over. That song that you wrote about your girlfriend leaving you for some hipster yoke from Birr, County Offaly is of no interest to anyone except you. She's certainly not interested. She's long gone, living it up somewhere in Westmeath. Wild nights in Athlone, carefree weekends on Loch Ray in the yacht that your man was after winning in a raffle, stuffing their shiny, tan, self-satisfied faces with Viennese whirls, flanked by adoring kittens purring about their bejewelled ankles, uncorking bottles of sparkling wine and spraying it toward the old woman who stands on the Roscommon shoreline, staring at them with both her eyes and shaking her head in resentful disgust. And all because you didn't buy a feckin' Valentine's Day card. So you see, there was a thread running through this all along. You just didn't notice it. And that's very much like jazz, really. Or very much not like jazz. Or very much not like jazz isn't. Well, I think that just about covers all aspects of the jazz guitar. I'll just have a look now through all your comments, reviews, critiques, complaints, heckles, insults, demands for loan repayments, requests from the Musicians Union to return the erroneous cheque that I got for royalties. Let's see now, what have we got here? Your hair looks nearly as bad as mine, the management. Jesus. Sorry, broke character there for a minute. I don't know what else we got here now. Could have been better. A bit disappointing, if I'm honest. Could have been worse. Here's a good one. Fair play to you, Turlough. At least you gave it a go. Is there any more real ones? No. Your hair looks nearly as bad as mine. Jeez, it took hours to get it like this. Well, anyway, that's enough from me. I'm Turlough Moondust, Kinvara's foremost whatever. I've got to go now. I've things to do. I have to go to the toilet. So it's non-stop. So thanks a million. Good night.